He faced one discouraging obstacle after another, yet through it all he persisted. How did he do it? First, he partnered with God.
Hi neighbor, welcome to another journaling episode of Anchors of Encouragement. My name is Tim Maudlin, husband, adoptive parent, disciple of Christ, and ambassador of encouragement. Journaling has been a big part of my life since my son Johnny was introduced to it in residential. It was the catalyst to help him heal his broken heart. For me, the power of journaling is captured in the following quote: "You can think a feeling, you can speak a feeling, but if you want to touch a feeling, you need to write." In these journaling episodes, I'll share a story and a journaling prompt to help you navigate your adoption journey. I saw the positive things journaling did for my son. I know the positive things journaling has done for me, and I hope you'll try it too. I would like to invite you to grab a pen and paper, and let's tap into the power of journaling together. Hope and healing are on the way.
Before the beginning of this year, I selected my word that I wanted to focus on. I chose the word persist. Little did I know how much persisting I would have to do. I realize I'm not the only one. We all have a lot of things we have to persist through. As I've thought about this word, I've been making a list of different ways to persist. Right now, that list has at least 120 different ways. The one thing that I've been using from that list this year in order to persist is journaling. I've been using pen to paper. It's been that effective for me, and I want to share that with you with the hopes that you will consider developing that as a habit for yourself. Today I want to show you how you can persist with pen to paper and partner with God. Let me share a story that will help get this point started, and then I'll share your journaling prompts in a little bit. He faced one discouraging obstacle after another, yet through it all he persisted. How did he do it? First, he partnered with God. I'm talking about one of my favorite Bible characters, Joseph. When we pick up the story of Joseph in the book of Genesis, we see he is one of 12 brothers. This family was the definition of dysfunctional. Unfortunately, Joseph is not seen well by his brothers. They hate him. Dad played favorites, and Joseph was his favorite, and the brothers knew it. And because of that, the brothers hated him. When we get to the story in chapter 38, Jacob has sent his son Joseph to check on the other brothers. Well, that's not going to sit well with them. As he's approaching, we can see how much their hatred had grown, so much so that they want to kill him. Had it not been for brother Reuben, they would have murdered Joseph that day. Instead, they threw him in a pit and they waited. When they saw a caravan approaching, they decided that they would sell their brother into slavery. And that's just what they did. As we get into chapter 39, let's pick up the narrative and see what happens to Joseph. Verse 1. Now Joseph had been taken to Egypt. An Egyptian named Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and the captain of the guards, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man, serving in the household of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made everything he did successful, Joseph found favor with his master and became his personal attendant. Potiphar also put him in charge of his household and placed all that he owned under his authority. From the time that he put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house because of Joseph. The Lord's blessing was on all that he owned, in his house and in his fields. He left all that he owned under Joseph's authority. He did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Joseph's situation turned as good as it could have gotten, really. But as a slave, he had it pretty good. He was second in command under his master's rule. There was only one problem: Mrs. Potiphar. Joseph was a handsome man, and Mrs. Potiphar took note of that. She made unwanted advances toward Joseph over and over, and each time Joseph rejected her. Then one day, the two of them were alone in the house, and she made another advance toward Joseph. Joseph again rejected her, and this time he left his coat behind as he ran out of the house. Let's pick up the story in verse 17 of Genesis 39. The Hebrew slave you brought to us came to make a fool of me, but when I screamed for help, he left his garment beside me and ran outside. When his master heard the story his wife told him, "These are the things your slave did to me," he was furious, and had him thrown into prison where the king's prisoners were confined. So Joseph was there in prison. Joseph has been punished for doing the right thing. Now he's in prison. Well, let's keep reading in verse 21. But the Lord was with Joseph and extended kindness to him. He granted him favor with the prison warden. The warden put all the prisoners who were in the prison under Joseph's authority, and he was responsible for everything that was done there. The warden did not bother with anything under Joseph's authority, because the Lord was with him, and the Lord made everything that he did successful. Joseph's in another less than ideal situation, but it's again not as bad as it could be. What's the reason? Well, if you've noticed in our reading, in Genesis 39, verse 2, verse 3, and verse 21, there's a phrase that's repeated. The Lord was with Joseph. Well, that begs the question, why was the Lord with him? I believe the key can be found in the book of James, chapter 4, verse 8. There the writer says, "Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you." I believe in all these cases that we've talked about, these examples with Joseph, that in each situation, he was drawing near to God. In other words, he was partnering with God. And because he chose to partner with God, the Lord was with him. Now, how can you and how can I partner with God? One of the ways we can partner with God is to remember stories like this from Scripture. This is where pen to paper comes in. Let's get to your daily doable. This is your pen to paper journaling prompt. If you're new to journaling, I want to keep this exercise as simple as possible. This, to me, is the easiest way to get into journaling. And just because it's easy doesn't mean it's not effective. I found this very effective for myself. What I want you to do is I want you to simply copy down different Bible verses. These Bible verses speak to the idea of partnering with God. Here are the verses: Genesis 39, verse 2, Genesis 39, verse 3, Genesis 39, verse 21, and James chapter 4, verse 8. Copy those verses down, and as you do it, pay attention to the words. Go slowly and focus on each word. As you focus on those words, you're going to see the way that you can partner with God. You can see how Joseph partnered with God and what God did for him. The Lord was with him. I have a bonus verse for you as well. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 6. There the writer says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own understanding. In all your ways know him, and he will make your paths straight." Copy that verse down. Slowly write the words and focus on the meaning behind them. I have a tip that I want to share with you that I believe will make this exercise even more helpful. What I like to do when I'm looking at Scripture is to compare different translations. Sometimes one translation will word a verse a little bit differently than another, and that helps me to really understand the meaning behind the verse better. The way I like to compare translations is with Bible apps on my phone. with a simple tap, I can switch back and forth between translations. And when I find one that speaks to me, that's when I'll copy those verses down. So again, those verses are Genesis 39:2, 39:3, 39:21, James chapter 4, verse 8, and Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 6. I would like to encourage you to try this journaling prompt, copy these verses down, and see if it doesn't help you to partner with God. That's all for this episode. I want to thank you for joining me. Until next time, this is Tim, encouraging you to do what you can now.
If this podcast has given you the courage and confidence to face storms in your life, the number one way you can thank me is to leave a written review on Apple Podcasts. Tell a friend about the show and be an anchor of encouragement for other adoptive parents. I would also like to invite you to join our Facebook community. All of the links for this episode can be found in the show notes. So until next time, this is Tim, encouraging you to do what you can now.